What's going on, everybody? ABJ BP Burke not live today, so don't go in the chats and be like, why are they ignoring us? This is pre-recorded because BP wants to watch his Birds play the Cowboys. So for your entertainment, we're going to bring to you the WWF Winged Eagle Championship. For an entire decade, the WWF Winged Eagle World Heavyweight Championship sat at the very top of the wrestling mountain, from Hulk Hogan's larger-than-life reigns to Bret Hart's precision, from Shawn Michaels' boyhood dream, the birth of the Attitude Era. This belt was not just a prize, it was a symbol of excellence. Today, we deep dive into the history of the Winged Eagle Championship, how it came to be, the legends who wore it, the controversies that shaped it, and why even after decades after it's retired, fans still call it the most beautiful title belt ever made. Let's get on with the show. BP Burke, what's going on?
It didn't even dawn on me until you said that we are doing a pre-tape show about a belt with an eagle on it because I want to watch the Eagles. So
yes, yeah, today is
very good synergy. Very good synergy. And hopefully at this point, it's a kickoff is what? This is about 8:06. Kickoff is about 15 minutes away. The banner's probably been unfurled. It's going to be a fun time.
Jerry Jones has to look at a banner that's not his.
He doesn't.
By somebody else in the division. No, he doesn't. He doesn't actually want the football team to be good. He just wants to make money off it.
Yeah, pretty much. But anyway, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about wrestling.
Yeah. Well, real quick before we start, BP got me some Oktoberfest Yingling. I got some Trogs and Yingling Oktoberfest. So I'm gonna crack one of those as we get started here. BP. The Winged Eagle Championship. Where does this rank for you as favorite belts when it comes to the reigns, the history, the whole nine, without going into all of that?
Probably number 2.
Okay.
I'm kind of back and forth on if number 2 is that for me or the WCW United States title. But I think it's, as CM Punk would call it, the Eagle, because CM Punk very astutely put it. Well, all Eagles have wings.
Agreed.
So,
I'm with CM Punk. I mean, listen, I'm normally always with CM Punk, but even more so on this one.
Yeah, no, it's a title that has really firmly established itself in the zeitgeist of professional wrestling, especially now, because maybe not so much for like people who are coming in now. Like it really makes you think about how old you are when like people are like, oh, I grew up watching John Cena, now he's retiring, and I'm like, when John Cena started, I was like in my mid-20s. So I'm old. Well, not my early 20s. I'm not that old, but yeah. So this is like the belt of my childhood. This is my formative time watching wrestling from like 1988 to 1998 is probably, well, it is the first 10 years I can consciously remember. Well, I mean, I was watching wrestling since I was a baby, but like I can consciously remember watching wrestling. It's this title.
Yeah, this title is same with me. This is my favorite title. This is the title I grew up watching. From, like you said in the intro. I mean, it went from Hogan to Bret to Shawn and a few people in between. But this is quintessential the belt. Like that run of titles and champions was, to me, my favorite time of pro wrestling. So it is my favorite title, and it's the first title for me that era where like Shawn, I never really had like, I mean, I grew up as a Washington fan and stuff like that. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, I'm kind of acting like a fan who hasn't really experienced much, but like growing up, I was a Chicago Bulls fan, so I had a pretty good stretch there for a bit at watching.
I mean, you were pretty young, but Washington, one of them, what, 1992? Like,
yeah, but here's the thing: my dad only, like, I didn't know my dad was a Washington fan till much. I'm only 86, so 92. Yeah. I'm like, I don't give a shit about professional football. Like, I just don't care. It was Pro Wrestling Ninja Turtles. Like, that's all. Yeah. That's all I cared about. But yeah, so when that came about, it was just, I don't know. I didn't really care, but like Shawn Michaels is the first guy that I got to watch win the title, and it really sealed for me what made the championship. You know what I mean? And just like it made it feel special, and it was like I got to watch that guy hold it up, and I was like, oh, this is cool, you know. But yeah, so I, as the show goes, I will present and show off my new title, which is based off of the Winged Eagle. It's sitting up over there. I have two versions of it. I got the one I did an unboxing for on the channel, the one I got from Amazon, the Shawn Michaels one. That's supposed to be the WWE shop replica. It's not. And then I got my new custom belt made by Cody. I don't know what his business name is yet, so I can't really put that over, but I will as soon as he gets it set up. Now, there's two versions of this belt, BP. There's a secondary version, which I think gets a lot more love than the first, but some people really like the first one too. So the first one that Hogan wore when it was kind of introduced was this dual-plated version, where it's the silver backdrop with the gold, the heavyweights blended in with the gold, and then there's the all-gold version with the solid black heavyweight across the front. Which one do you prefer?
Oh, that one. The one that's on the screen now with the solid gold is
the solid gold.
The
so
gold
that was
standard,
more of the, I believe Brett ushered in that belt, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that I don't know about. I know Hogan, at least for his first reign, like people really do associate that title with Hogan, and he did have it, like especially in the 90s, but in the 80s, really, or that first run that Hogan's really known for, from 84 to 88, he only wore that design literally one time. But it happened to be the debut for this title belt is the first, or is probably, it's definitely the most watched professional wrestling match in the United States ever. It may be the most watched professional wrestling match, although they do say if you consider Inoki and Ali's fight a professional wrestling match, it was a work that kind of turned into a shoot. That was more than likely more watched, but Hogan Andre on the main event on NBC in 1988, before a few weeks before WrestleMania 4, or a few months before WrestleMania 4, that is the pinnacle of professional wrestling ratings. Like, we talk about ratings now, and if a show gets like 2 or 3 million viewers, it's doing amazing things on TV. Hogan and Andre in a very different TV universe, where cable TV is kind of in its infancy. It's starting to become a little more popular, but there's no YouTube, there's no streaming services, there's no internet. Besides like the Department of Defense and stuff. At this point, 33 million people watch Andre the Giant with a referee who had plastic surgery to look like Dave Hebner giving him a big assist. It totally wasn't Earl. They're all joining in to see Andre the Giant end the 4+ year reign of Hulk Hogan. And then he gives as he said, he is going to give the WWF Tag Team Championship to Ted DiBiase. And he sold the belt to DiBiase, who actually does defend it once or twice on house shows before Jack Tunney, the president, steps in and says, you can't buy a championship. And we get the WrestleMania 4 tournament, but I may be getting ahead of myself.
So who created this title?
Reggie Parks, the sometimes wrestler, sometimes I think he did have a bit of a run in wrestling. Reggie Parks was a very famous wrestling belt creator. He unfortunately did pass away due to COVID-19 a few years ago during the pandemic. I believe he was in his 80s, but Reggie Parks is the brains behind the legendary Winged Eagle title. He made a lot of major championships in that era. And I think on the last show we did, I promised a Reggie Parks story, and it's more of an Owen Hart story than a Reggie Parks story. But and Brett says this was WrestleMania 4. My suspicion is it may have been WrestleMania 5, because Owen was working for the WWF at that point as the Blue Blazer in 84 or 88 when WrestleMania 4 was happening, which was one of the big early moments for this title. At that point, Owen was wrestling for New Japan. But Brett has a hotel room in Atlantic City. WrestleMania is in Atlantic City again, or for the first time if it's WrestleMania 4. And Stu is staying with him. He brought his parents to come to WrestleMania with him. And Brett gets a call in his hotel room, and the guy says, "Hey, this is Reggie Parks." And Brett's like, "Okay, it sounds like Reggie." Reggie had come through Stampede. He was one of the victims of the dungeon. He wrestled for Stampede for a little bit. He would come back and visit the Harts. He was very close with the Hart family. And Reggie says, "Can I talk to your dad?" And so Brett hands the phone over to Stu. Hey, Reggie. How you doing, Reggie? And Brett says, as this conversation goes on, Stu is getting more and more agitated. He's getting more and more angry. He's getting more and more animated. And from what he understands, at some point, Reggie Parks, I'm going to use quotes here. Reggie Parks says, "Hey, Stu, I respect that you never really wanted me to try it because you knew I could beat you. And like that's not something you say to Stu Hart. You're like, yeah, Reggie, if you wanted to try me, you should have tried me. Or why didn't you try me? And he's just getting angrier and angrier. And eventually you find out it's just Owen Hart messing with his dad. Which was such a typical Owen Hart thing.
He also make the UFC title?
I believe he may have. I'm not sure everything that Reggie Parks made, but he was one of the early prolific belt makers before like Dave Milliken and a lot of the other guys that would make belts a little bit later. Reggie Parks is one of the first guys to make them pretty widespread.
Yeah. So this belt does kick off with Hogan wearing it. I just want to get you back on track.
One time it kicks off with Hogan wearing it. Yep. And then then Andre gets it. He sells it. You can't sell it. I don't think there's video, but there are pictures of DiBiase wearing it. And I think it was at the Boston Garden because it was on Nessun, which is like the MSG network for Boston, or Prism back in the day for Boston. They had Nessun. And it says Ted DiBiase, WWF heavyweight champion, or World Wrestling Federation champion, I think was the verbiage they used.
He had it, but he's never credited as being a world champion. Yeah.
No, it's one of those unofficial reigns because it got dusty finished where they said Which can't
is kind of fucked up. Because in modern time, if you look up people who've held, like me just doing research on this, and the people who held this title and people who get credit for holding this title, DiBiase does not get credit, but Kevin Owens does.
Well, he didn't really hold the title,
but they credit him as being a title holder because he walks around. I don't think it's official.
Him as being a title.
I'm saying the internet lore credits him for being a person who.
Well, that being said, the internet lore can credit DiBiase too. The internet lore can credit me. I was never the champion. There's an official lineage, and Kevin Owens was never the WWE champion.
No, he was not.
He was Universal champion. He was Universal champion, and
it was actually vacated. Do you know where?
The WWF title?
After DiBiase.
A few times.
You know what location it was vacated?
No.
It was vacated at Superstars of Wrestling in February 13th, 1988 in Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Oh, yeah. They would do a lot of tapings in Hershey, Indianapolis. I think Indianapolis is where the Hogan Andre match happened.
Yeah. I just get excited when stuff happens in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Hershey would, well, I mean, obviously, if you go back farther, Hamburg and Allentown had pretty much all the TV tapings.
Yeah.
But that got kind of cut out around 85, 86. So, yeah, at this point, I didn't know it was in Hershey, but Jack Tunney, it was probably in a video, Jack Tunney. I declare the championship vacant. So Jack Tunney was
I'm very, very upset with you.
He shouldn't be. Jack Tunney should be, or Randy Savage should be very happy with Jack Tunney for vacating.
That was the one promo where he goes, I'm very, very upset with you, Jack Tunney.
As Bobby Heenan would call him, Jack on the take Tunney.
Yeah.
So, and to me still, even though he was very wooden, he didn't really get involved a lot, but he was the gold standard of authority figures to me because he didn't. You saw Jack Tunney 3 times a year, and it was important every time you did. It was to make some kind of proclamation. It was like the king coming down to make his proclamation. Somebody should have came from Jack Tunney's office with stone tablets. It was like when Moses came down from the mountain when Jack Tunney talked. But he has a rare. And back then, you only really saw him at events like in person and not on the pre-tape because he probably didn't want to leave Canada. Probably didn't want to leave his cushy job where he got a percentage of the gate for all the events in Toronto for doing nothing. And the whatever he got paid for being the figurehead president of the WWF. He was at WrestleMania 4 because what happens is Jack Tunney rules. Hulk Hogan is not the champion. He lost the match. Andre the Giant is not the champion. He surrendered the title. Ted DiBiase is not the champion. You cannot buy the title. You can only win it by pinfall or submission. So we are going to have a tournament at WrestleMania 4, a 14-man tournament to determine the new WWF champion. Hogan and Andre get a bye in the second round because they were the last 2 official champions. And there's always been a lot of lore behind this, that there was always stories, and I don't know how true they are or how untrue they are, that DiBiase was originally supposed to win that tournament at WrestleMania 4. Macho Man was the urban legend you always hear is Macho Man was supposed to beat Honky Tonk Man for the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania, or at some point prior to that, or just after that. and that DiBiase was supposed to win the title and either lose it to Savage at SummerSlam or lose it back to Hogan at SummerSlam. But then it depends on the story you believe. Either the Honky Tonk Man threatened to leave and go to the NWA and not drop the title unless he was able to keep it for a little bit longer. There's also a story about that was around the time they were thinking they were going to get Ric Flair. If you remember, one of our what ifs we did way back when was Ric Flair coming to the WWF. This was around one of those times where there was talk that Ric Flair is going to come to WWF, and at SummerSlam night, the first SummerSlam, it's going to be Randy Savage against Ric Flair. Obviously, that didn't happen.
That'd have been insane.
And well, we got it. We got it a few years later, and it was very, very good. It was very, very good. So whatever the machinations are, Randy Savage wins the title at WrestleMania 4, and this is back when they would book so far out ahead that we already know when he's going to lose it.
Yeah, is Hogan still, is he doing movies at this time? Is this why they put the ball in Savage's court?
So Savage is winning the title because in 1988 Hogan's going to take a few months off to go film No Holds Barred, and he's going to make a few appearances. He's going to wrestle at some of the big shows. He wrestled at SummerSlam. He wrestled here and there. They did an injury angle in around like September or October with the Big Boss Man, and he was out for a while there. But yeah, this really was to kind of write Hogan off a little bit because he's going to make No Holds Barred. WWF's making a movie. And so Savage gets the ball here, and you know, box office did go down. Hogan was a draw at this point. Hogan was synonymous with professional wrestling. He was the guy. And so Savage did a few house show runs with DiBiase. In fact, the first wrestling show I ever saw, I think was in like August or September of 1988, 5 years old. The main event of it was Savage defending that Winged Eagle against DiBiase in a cage. And then I think he had a house show program with Bad News Brown after a few loops with DiBiase. And then at that point, it's time to start turning Savage heel because the plan all along was about the Hulkster having lust in his eyes for Elizabeth. Yeah.
And real just to kind of recap. So before Hogan wins this title and he's crowned as that champion, he's on a 1,474 day run with the World Heavyweight with the WWF World Heavyweight Championship. After beating the Iron Sheik and it getting converted from the National Wrestling Alliance World Wrestling Federation Championship.
Well, it was never called that.
Yeah, but when the title kind of changed.
Yeah, I mean technically WWF, it was WWF at that point because I think WWF went away in like 79, 80, 81. But they withdrew from the NWA in 1983. So yeah. I believe when they officially withdrew from the NWA, Bob Backlund was still the champion. And it definitely was a different title. It was it's the one you'll see a lot. In older things, it's the one Hogan originally won, was the big green one, the green and gold one.
Title.
It almost looked like the 24/7 title that they had for a little bit, except the strap was a lot wider because it had plates on it with the names of former champions. Yeah. But Backlund loses that to Sheik, and then Sheik as a transition champion loses it to Hogan in early '84. Yeah. But at that point, WWF is already they had a seat on the board, but they never really acknowledged the NWA champion, and they weren't called like NWA Worldwide Wrestling Federation or anything like that. But there was enough respect for Vince and Jay McMahon, Vince McMahon's father, that he maintained a seat on the NWA board. He had a vote on the champion. There were, a lot of things that did come into play.
So Andre holds it for less than a day because he wins it
about 2 minutes.
Yeah, and then immediately hands it over to DiBiase, who on paper has it for 8 days. Then it gets vacated, and then Savage, when we just talked about it, goes on a 371-day reign, and then Hulk Hogan takes it back for 364 days.
At WrestleMania 5, Hogan wins that back. A lot of people will maintain like they could have gotten some more mileage out of that. They could have had Savage win that by some kind of cheating, or Hogan wins by DQ, and run it back at SummerSlam, and it would have done better than Hogan and Beefcake against Savage and Zeus. But I guess at that point, they got a movie to run. They got a movie to promote. And so they want to really use Zeus for it. But yeah, that Hogan reign, at that point, Hogan does a run with Savage. In fact, they were going to have a match because Savage becomes the Macho King. They were going to have a match for another one of those, the main event specials, where it was going to be Hogan against Macho Man with Mike Tyson as the referee. But a few weeks or a few months before that happens, Mike Tyson is knocked out by James Buster Douglas in Tokyo, so they quick make a deal to have Buster Douglas be the referee and strike while the iron's hot there. And but there was talk about like, oh, they might want to do Hulk Hogan and Zeus at WrestleMania. I don't think that was going to happen. No Holds Barred was a flop, and Zeus was kind of written off in the end of 1989. So at some point, it becomes pretty clear that the match they're going to do in 1990, the rare babyface versus babyface, the Ultimate Challenge, it's going to be Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah, looking at that now. Are you a fan of that match?
Yes, I haven't seen it in a long time, but it's it's the probably second best match the Ultimate Warrior ever had. It's very produced, it's very choreographed, but it was the best they could have done. And Hulk Hogan, for all the slings and arrows he takes, was a better worker than he ever got credit for, especially.
Oh, I would agree with that. He's not like here's the problem. I think people have in their head what a good professional wrestler is, and that's kind of vague because everyone has their own style, everyone has their own take. Some people lean into 4 or 5 moves, some people can chain wrestle, some people are good at high flying.
And Hogan did a lot of that in Japan.
Yeah, you could be a luchador style, you could be strong style. Like there's so many different ice cream flavors of a wrestler you can be. And Hogan was good at being Hogan. Like it was kind of a hard person to have a bad match with, unless he didn't want to give you a good match.
I mean, I think what a lot of people really disliked, especially at that time, was how formulaic Hogan's matches are. But then so were Ric Flair's. Ric Flair's matches were that's a completely different topic for a completely different show, but that was Bret Hart's big criticism of Ric Flair was he had the same match every night. Hogan kind of did too at this point because they had a formula and it worked. Hogan, it's a lot of heat. Hogan gets beat to death for most of the match, does his Superman comeback at the end, hulks up, couple of punches, blocks a punch, couple of punches, big boot, body slam if you're fat, leg drop, 1, 2, 3, it's over. And if you didn't like that formula, you probably didn't like Hulk Hogan matches at the time, and that's understandable. And what I thought the Hogan Warrior match was really well laid out. I haven't watched it in years, but it was the first WrestleMania I ever saw live. It was like the second pay-per-view I ever saw live, and I was rooting for the Warrior. So I was very happy that night.
First time we're going to have World Champion too, where the World Championship and the Intercontinental Champion are held by the same guy.
Not for long because they made him vacate the IC title.
Yeah, but I
mean, immediately it's gone.
Well, we're seeing that the double champ, like the visual of him holding both titles.
I want to say only time. I don't think anybody ever had both of those titles at the same time after that.
You might be right.
The closest I think is when Triple H was handed the World Heavyweight title when they initially did the roster split. They absorbed all the other titles into that, and they had a match that was for the Intercontinental title. Well, it was Kane and Triple H, and Kane was the Intercontinental champion, but it was like, we're getting rid of the Intercontinental title. Whoever wins this match is the world champion.
I will say that without using the IC, I mean, a bunch of people have held the world championship and the tag team championship.
Oh yeah, even before that, Bruno did.
I believe
Bruno did. I think
Sean had the European and the world heavyweight championship.
Yeah, that was the infamous when he changed the finish on Davey Boy after he dedicated the match to his dying sister.
Fuck him, right? No,
apparently.
Yeah. And just the visual of the Warrior match too that I always got excited, and even today when I watch wrestling, that I always say like, oh, when someone has face paint and they go through war and the paint's worn off, and like the Warrior is pretty much completely unmasked or unpainted, and he's just holding up 2 titles is a good visual.
And this was like a change in the guard, passing the torch moment. It's like Hogan's not really leaving, but he's gone to make Suburban Commando now. Like shortly after this, they do another injury angle where Earthquake puts him on the shelf because he's going to film Suburban Commando. It's like, all right, well, it was kind of like when Roman Reigns was becoming the man and John Cena would come in every now and then. Or like Roman Reigns now when Cody Rhodes is the man, but Roman Reigns is going to come in and make some appearances too. So you have your number one babyface and then your number one babyface emeritus. And this was Hogan kind of sliding into that role that Bruno kind of had during Hogan's run, and Backlund's run even, where okay, yeah, we have this new guy we're building the company around, but we have our elder statesman babyface, who you calling an elder, brother, that is going to, she was like 40 at the time. We have this elder statesman babyface who was going to, be there too and be an attraction. except the Warrior didn't do too well box office wise. He had a run with Rick Rude, but even at SummerSlam 90, it's a double main event. It's Hogan and Earthquake and Rude and Warrior goes on last, but there's noticeably more crowd reaction for Hogan and Earthquake. So it's like, I
liked Rude and Warrior's story. I thought, mostly because I love how Rude sold it as the bad guy.
Right.
But I would have loved a Rick Rude World Heavyweight Championship run.
Yeah, well, back in the day, like, the belt wasn't passed around like candy like it is now. Well, even now it's not so much, but for a while it was. Like, you get to the Attitude Era, forget it. But for a while it was like passed, and even now, like, there's so many titles. There's like 2 different world champions, and you know, AEW, half the roster's a champion. So it's back then it was like, okay, you have your world champion, your intercontinental champion, and your tag champions, and that world title was very protected. Guys like Roddy Piper never won it. Guys like DiBiase, Mr. Perfect, Rick Rude never, especially if you were a heel. If you were a heel, you're probably going to be a transitional champion, literally until a guy we're going to talk about in a second here. There was, before a guy we're going to talk about in a minute or two here, the only long-term heel champion was superstar Billy Graham, and he got a babyface reaction from a lot of people. Yeah. So
Warrior's going to hold it for 293 days, and then our next guy is going to hold it for 64 days.
Speaking of transitional champions.
Yeah, and here it is.
The Sarge.
I get why Sarge wins storyline-wise.
Well, do you know, according to Bruce Pritchard, what the original plan was? And I don't know if this is true, and I guess it's true. He had no reason to lie about this.
Yeah.
But he said because, and like, you would always have Hulk Hogan's buddy who would turn on him. Randy Savage, Paul Orndorff. There were a bunch of them. So at this point, Hogan's new buddy was Tugboat, whose gimmick was he was a tugboat. He wore a sailor hat and a sailor outfit, and you would go, hoo, hoo. But there's a lot of what Bruce Pritchard has said is WrestleMania 7, the original idea, because they knew there was this conflict in the Middle East. They knew when they wanted to bank on that. But it was going to be Hulk Hogan against the evil Sheik Tugboat, which I don't know if that would have worked.
That guy is probably second in the running for gimmicks, would you say?
No.
He's up there. He has a lot. Tugboat had a lot of gimmicks.
Mainstream, not really. He had, I mean, if you want to count like Big Steel Man in Florida, maybe.
We had Tugboat Typhoon and Shockmaster. Didn't he have another one in there too?
Well, it was Super Shockmaster, but it was still Shockmaster.
Yeah.
And Uncle Fred.
Tugboat and Typhoon were kind of the same guy, just a different.
Yeah, but it was evil Tugboat. He was Tugboat, but I'm a bad guy now.
I loved Earthquake and Typhoon.
Oh, the natural disasters were great.
They were awesome.
But I don't think Sheik Tugboat would have worked.
No,
I don't.
No.
Like, but he's had a few gimmicks, but he's not like Brutus Beefcake or Repo Man.
He might be one of the guys too that I've met in person that like genuinely I was taken back by his demeanor and the way he carries himself and the way he talks. Like, he was kind of a nerd. Like, he's
very
a nice
spoken man.
Yeah, he's Uncle a very sweet. He's Uncle a big Fred. Sweetheart. Like, meeting him, I was like, yo, you were the natural disasters, and he's just like, yeah, I had a lot of, like, he kind of had like a real soft. Yeah,
they say Earthquake was like that too. He was very reserved, very humble, very soft spoken as well.
Yeah.
So Slaughter. Sergeant Slaughter comes back, does the Iraqi sympathizer gimmick, turns his back on the United States. He has his curly boots that he says were a personal gift from Saddam Hussein. They act like he's going to burn an American flag, but he burns a Hulk Hogan shirt instead. And this didn't really get over. It did to a degree, but and wrestling was cooling off as a whole, and the steroid scandal was starting to peek through, and that golden era is really drawing to a close. I was trying to think of this when I came in because this title really bridges the golden era to the Attitude Era and everything in between, which is the new generation. So I'm thinking, like, when did the golden era end? Is it WrestleMania 5 or WrestleMania 6, Hogan Warrior? Because that's when it peaked. Like, the Attitude Era peaks at WrestleMania 17. I think the golden era peaks at WrestleMania 6 with Hogan and Warrior. You could argue it peaks at WrestleMania 3, but it still goes on for a while after that. But it's definitely over, I think, when Slaughter beats Warrior.
Yeah, I would. For me, what I would consider new generation, this is all like very vague for me, is I would say maybe going from Flair to Savage to Flair to Hart.
I think the new generation kicks off when you go from Flair to Bret. Actually, no, I'm gonna walk that back. I think it officially begins when Hulk Hogan leaves for good. Well, at least until
Yeah.
the 2000s.
Brett brought in a different era of professional wrestling that I just
Yeah.
thought changed the landscape of WWE.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I honestly think that this title, in my opinion, I don't want to be the guy to be like, my generation was the best generation, but like, I truly feel like Brett was the guy who killed the Giants, the Titans, all the
Yeah.
old school guys, and then Brett brought in this new era,
and
then
kind of killed the box office too, for being honest.
yeah, sure,
Yeah.
it did.
That
It
wasn't
killed the
Brett's
box
fault.
office,
That
but
wasn't Brett's fault.
It changed the landscape of what wrestling was going to become going forward.
Yeah.
Who is drag racing near your house?
I have no idea.
For real quick, Brian streets are as big as his beer can, so I don't know how that guy got that much engine on that stretch of road. That's wild. But then Sean changed it. He brought in the era of sports entertainment. Like you know what I mean? Like the winged eagle between just those two guys in general. Hogan.
I think Hogan brought in the era of sports entertainment.
Yeah, Hogan. I mean, but Sean, that new era where like that's where people were like, "Oh, you're a Sean or a Brett guy," because like the styles were so close but different.
Yeah, it became the new Hogan or Savage. It became that.
Yeah. But yeah, so Savage wins the title.
We're on Sergeant Slaughter now.
Sorry, I jumped ahead too much. Yeah, Sergeant Slaughter is going to hold it for 64 days, and then he's going to drop it back to the Golden Boy here.
Hulk Hogan, Hulkamania rides again.
Hogan must pose.
Hogan must pose, especially when business is starting to dip, because Warrior did not have the box office power, nearly the box office power of Hulk Hogan. Scandal is starting to trickle in. There's starting to be like little things. I'm not sure the dates on like the Tom Cole thing or the George Sahorian thing, but there's knocks at the door. There's cracks in the foundation of the mighty WWF at this point. And to the point where WrestleMania 7 was originally supposed to be at the LA Memorial Coliseum, which was where they did the Olympics in 1984. It's where the Raiders played when they moved to Los Angeles. Huge open air stadium. And they said due to security threats, they were moving it to the LA Sports Arena, which is much smaller, from going from like 100,000 seats to about 20,000. But it was poor ticket sales. There was poor advanced ticket sales. So they said, people are threatening Sergeant Slaughter, so we have to move it and have tighter security.
Now, I think this can be answered by simply saying it's just pro wrestling. Pro wrestling, I think, is treated differently than any other sport and any other means of entertainment. If you're an actor and you go and you play, just like say John Cena, Batista, name a wrestler who became an actor and also a wrestler, goes out and plays an inherently racist character, like a Leonardo DiCaprio, Samuel Jackson, Django style character. If they do that on the big screen, nobody cares. Everyone understands it's part of the show. It's an acting job. They're praised for playing this great racist role, but everyone kind of knows. I mean, now that wrestling is theater.
Yeah.
But if you go out there and present that character, you are done. Like you will get canceled. You will be. It's a part of me. Like I'm torn on it. Like, do you want to platform that? No. But at the end of the day, the art, the thrill, the bad guy getting his comeuppance, I don't always think it's a terrible idea to, like, I just don't understand why wrestling kind of doesn't get that pass where they can just use character work like that.
Because it's not theater. It's not theater. It's not a movie. It's not a play.
It's though.
Wrestling. It's wrestling. It's different. All right. So you're telling me you call every wrestler you know by their real name, or do you call them by their gimmick name?
Gimmick name.
For the most part. All right. So if you went up to John Travolta, would you say, "Hi, Vincent Vega"? No. So there's a difference, right?
Sure.
Exactly.
But I just think in the art form of it, I think it's held to a different standard.
It is, because it's its own unique thing. It's not quite sports. It's not quite entertainment. It's wrestling. It's something completely different. And especially in 1991, the kayfabe in 1991 isn't like kayfabe in 1971, but it's still something where if you're a heel and you work for the WWF in 1991 and you see a fan at the airport, you're supposed to be mean to them.
Yeah,
that's really not the thing now, unless you're MJF and you're kind of method acting and you are trying to be like that old school.
And I respect that. I like it.
Right. So again, it's not the same.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think do you think the day will ever come where they'll loosen their reins on freedom of character and what people
probably.
can do?
I mean, it depends on presentation. Like Lucha Underground got away with a lot of things that you would never see in WWE or AEW because they set the parameter. Like, this is our universe. Like, you know, people are going to get killed here. So, you know, we have witches and things like that. And that's fine. Like, I always talk about like goofy stuff, but have a consistency to your story. If you're going to be silly, be silly. If you're going to be realistic, be realistic. Don't be silly one second and realistic the other second and expect me to take you seriously. If you're a joke,
I don't mind.
If you're a joke 20% of the time, you're a joke 100% of the time.
Yeah, I kind of like the variety show aspect of wrestling, where you have your spooky segment, your realistic segment, your comedy segment. I like having that flavor of wrestling.
But it would be like if you had a very serious movie and then all of a sudden a ghost shows up. It's like, what the hell? What's this? It has nothing to do with anything else in the plot.
Yeah, but I think each person that goes out and performs in the ring for their segment is a segment. That's how I look at it. I don't look at it as an overall show.
It's a show. Yeah, I do disagree on that one. I think
it's like I said, it's the Muppets to me. It's like Fozzie goes out, cracks a joke, and then Kermit goes out and sings a beautiful ballad. You know what I mean? Like, it's each person that goes out and performs has their own little flavor they bring to the table.
Yeah, but I think it needs some kind of logical consistency. And if you don't, that's when you get like Vince Russo stuff.
Yeah. It's a great debate. I love that. We could go on for hours with that, but let's keep with the title. So Hogan's gonna win this at Mania, and he's gonna hold it for 248 days. And then here's where we talk about. Normally, the title does not get hot potato. BP.
This was them trying to experiment with something. So at this point, their business is dipping, and they're trying to think, okay, what can we do to?
They brought in a new scoop of ice cream.
Well, yeah, but it's more. I'm not talking about the guy he loses it to. I'm talking about why he lost it and why it was flipped so quickly. So,
he lost it because the guy almost broke his neck.
No, he didn't.
You got me, brother. Oh.
So Hulk Hogan loses it to The Undertaker, who is fairly new at this point. The Undertaker's been around for about a year. Yeah, he debuted at Survivor Series in 1990. He wins the title at Survivor Series in 1991, but WWE is struggling in 1991. Business is dipping. They're not as bulletproof as they've been for the last 8-7 years as Hulkamania and Rock and Wrestling and all those waves have been ridden. So one of the things they were debating to kind of reinvent themselves and kind of reinvent their revenue streams is we're really being successful on pay-per-view. What if we tried weekly pay-per-views at a discounted price? What if instead of every 4 months you buy a pay-per-view for, whatever it was back then, $30, or no, I don't think it was that much back then. It was like $25. What if we got people to spend $7.99 on the pay-per-view every week? Yeah. So the Survivor Series in 1991 is a very unique show because the entire show is basically a commercial for This Tuesday in Texas, where they have a pay-per-view. Survivor Series I think it was on Thanksgiving Eve at this point. So that's on a Wednesday. And then 6 days later, they're going to have another pay-per-view This Tuesday in Texas. And Macho Man had lost a loser must retire match to the Warrior. He's been reinstated by Jack Tunney, so he gets to wrestle at This Tuesday in Texas. And then you have The Undertaker beat Hulk Hogan, but Ric Flair interfered, so we're going to have a rematch. And it's going to be Hulk Hogan and The Undertaker again at This Tuesday in Texas. So they're building really up to Tuesday in Texas. And it flopped, and they never tried it again. And weekly pay-per-views weren't ever a thing again until the very beginning of TNA, because that was how TNA started.
Should make a Tuesday in Texas spoof shirt. I'm looking at the logo for it right now. Yikes.
It was an idea that didn't work. Yeah. And
8,000 people showed up for it, though, according to Wikipedia.
But how many people bought on pay-per-view is the question. Probably not enough. Yeah. And I wonder how much. I don't think they were really working with Jerry Jarrett at this point, but Jerry Jarrett was the driving force for NWA TNA and Jeff Jarrett for doing weekly pay-per-views as their original thing. And it was all based on, Memphis was a weekly, not on pay-per-view.
Yeah, a lot of those was dark 9 dark matches.
If I'm remembering, and this, yes, because I'm thinking the actual pay-per-view was like Bret Hart and Skinner. It was Savage and Jake, Hogan and Undertaker. I think Virgil and like Texas Tornado against DiBiase and Repo Man or something like that.
Repo Man and
one other match I'm
DiBiase
probably
with
forgetting.
Sensational Sherry beat El Matador and Virgil.
Oh, El Matador. Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
because that's where
Bulldog
DiBiase
beats
got the
Warlord.
belt. Okay.
Hart beats Skinner.
That one.
Flair beats Piper in a dark match, which they went 14 and a half minutes. Flair and Piper. I actually would like to watch that match. Legion of Doom, Hawk, and Animal are going to beat the Natural Disasters.
All dark
Legion
matches.
of Doom wrestled twice that night.
I guess. I don't know.
So according to this, Legion of Doom, Hawk and Animal defeat the Rockers in 12 minutes and 58 seconds. Then go on immediately next match to take on the Natural Disasters for another 10 minutes and 26 seconds.
That's a lot of the Road Warriors. That's a lot of, and they're my favorite tag team of all time, but that's a lot of Road Warriors.
They go three tag team matches in a row. They go Nasty Boys versus the Bushwhackers. Then they do the Legion of Doom 2 matches in a row.
I believe
before that. Sorry, go ahead.
I believe I want to say that Rockers LOD match was a Coliseum video match. I think they taped that for Coliseum video because I think I remember seeing that match.
Yeah.
And you got to remember,
I'll start from the beginning. The Harris brothers are going to take, which is Ron and Don, are going to take on Brad Castillo and Brian Donahue. I'm terrible at names.
Jobbers.
Jobbers.
They're taking on
Sir Charles, which we all would know becomes somebody else.
Sir Charles.
Dale Wolf. Sir Charles becomes Charles Wright, and then the Godfather and Papa Shango.
Oh, is that the Papa Shango? Yeah.
But he wrestled as Sir Charles on this show. Chris Walker takes on Brian Lee, which these names are wild. Chris Chavez.
You don't know. Well, Brian Lee is. I'm assuming Tatanka. Brian Lee, I'm going to assume is primetime Brian Lee, who was the fake Undertaker in Chains.
Yeah, Chains.
And Chris Walker was a guy who was around. He was like a guy got a little bit of a push at this time.
Yeah. But and then JW Storm. Well, I'm just saying back in the day for WWE, the guys that come out and have a match where it's Sir Charles versus Dale Wolf, Chris Walker versus Brian Lee, Chris Chavez versus JW Storm. Like it's just not WWE at that time. Like you're the trash man, or you're like, you know what I mean?
Well, they would do these, but they would do these before a lot of tapings and a lot of shows like this, especially if it was a shorter show, where this was like a mini pay-per-view, was like 2 hours. It was to get looks at guys they were interested in. They would do it. They would do a lot of dark matches like this. Like Dwayne Gill and Barry Hardy were the Toxic Turtles around this time and did a Ninja Turtles gimmick. They would test people out, and they did that forever. One of the even all the way up to into like 1998. I remember going to a Sunday Night Heat taping because it was the only way you could get a voucher to send away for WrestleMania 15 tickets. And before the Sunday Night Heat taping, it was Andrew Martin in a squash match, but for like weeks before he became Test. They just did that to test guys out, make sure they're ready for prime time. They would do a lot of like house show matches, and then they would do TV tapings just to kind of see what they look like under the lights and everything. So that's what they were getting a look at the Tonka. They were getting a look at the Harris brothers. They were getting a look at Brian Lee. They were getting a look at I forget who
Sir Charles.
Sir Charles, Papa Shango.
Yeah.
And that LOD Rockers match, LOD Rockers match, they are also right there. They are still planting the seeds for Shawn Michaels turning heel. Every match, the Rockers would lose, and then they would argue. That was like the formula of every match.
Yeah. So Undertaker is going to lose the title after 6 days to Hogan, who's going to hold it on paper for 1 day. Because
here comes Jack Tunney again.
Yeah, Jack Tunney's going to strip the title. And it's going to air on December 7th, and the show happened December 3rd, and then we're going to have the greatest Royal Rumble of all time.
Yeah, not the one in Saudi Arabia, the first one, I guess, in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah,
the actual greatest Royal Rumble. And so it's similar to WrestleMania 4, where the title is vacated because Flair gets involved again, and Hogan takes ashes from the urn and throws them in Undertaker's face, and it's all a screwy finish. So the title is held up. And the rub here where Hogan and Andre got buys in that tournament, the rub here is that Undertaker and Hogan are guaranteed that their Royal Rumble draw is going to be 20 or later. So that's their advantage in the Royal Rumble because they were the two previous champions. But
how many Rumbles are we in at this point in 92?
There was the one that was on USA Network, which was 88. I mean, as far as televised ones. And then
Is
we
this the
had
fifth Rumble?
Well,
The fifth or fourth?
on fourth. You had 88, 89. You had the one stud one. No, this is the fifth. You had the stud, the one Duggan one on TV. Stud wins in 89. Hogan wins in 91. So this is the fifth. And Hogan is coming in having won 2 in a row.
Okay.
But not tonight. Because coming in at number 3 is the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, who's going to pretty much run the table. Bobby Heenan is going to give the performance of a lifetime on commentary, going through the 5 stages of grief. And Ric Flair is going to be your WWF champion.
Holds it for 77 days. And it's wild because at this point in time, I'm not watching Flair matches. I'm just seeing Flair in the magazines. I'm seeing every now and then maybe a clip of Ric Flair cutting a promo of that old backdrop where he's standing there and he's holding the title, doing the whole. And
Mr.
now
Perfect is his manager. Yep.
Yeah, now he's holding the WWF championship.
Yep,
It's like, holy shit.
He is the real world champion now, isn't he?
Yeah.
And initially they say that he's going to wrestle Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 8, but then Sid Justice turns on Hogan, and Hogan wants Sid. He doesn't want the title. He wants to get even with Sid Justice. So then Macho Man Randy Savage gets his title shot. And Flair and Savage were made for each other. They are such a natural pairing. Whenever those two got together, they made magic. And WrestleMania 8 was no different, where Miss Elizabeth comes out because Flair had alleged that he had pictures of Elizabeth and he was going to put her up on the Jumbotron wearing nothing but a staple. And they said they had taken some pictures of her in very revealing swimwear, and Savage was like, "We're not going to do it, okay?
Yeah.
Not going to happen."
Well, this was redone on the indie circuit. GCW plays into this story maybe a couple of years ago with Cardona, Janela, and Chelsea Green, where Janela had photos of Chelsea.
Well, no, that's after Savage wins the title. Savage wins the title at WrestleMania 8.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, Flair is going to push Savage's buttons, and he says, "Elizabeth was mine before she was yours." And yeah, she has these pictures of her and Ric Flair and Elizabeth sitting at the poolside or sitting on their table watching wrestling on TV. And yeah, they what they said was, and they actually did it because then they showed the real pictures. They said that it was something called texting. It was basically Photoshop before there was Photoshop, and that basically Ric Flair put his head over Randy Savage's body, and they showed the real pictures that are the exact same, but it's Randy Savage and Elizabeth. And then yeah, GCW does it where they just had Joey Janela and Chelsea Green actually take the pictures.
Yeah. So Ric Flair's gonna hold her for 77 days, then go to Savage for 149, and then we go back to Ric Flair in primetime wrestling in Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Yep.
He's
a match that Vince McMahon may go back out because he hated the original one.
Really?
Yeah, he had him go back out. So yeah, I'm not sure what the plan was with the Savage thing here. I know that the rumor has it, because part of Savage's run is WrestleMania or SummerSlam 92 in England. And it's Savage and the Warrior. They're both baby faces. But Ric Flair and Mr. Perfect are saying that we've made a deal with one of these guys, and one of them is going to be joining the dark side, basically. One of them is becoming a bad guy. And there's a rumor, and I don't know if this is urban legend or not, that they had convinced Warrior to turn heel. And that Warrior was going to turn heel and be a heel champion with Mr. Perfect as his manager. But Warrior got cold feet at the last second, and they didn't pull a trigger. And it was like, oh, Ric Flair and Perfect were just saying that to mess with them. The match winds up a double DQ. And 3 or 4 weeks later, Flair beats Savage for the title again. And so this is at the point where the steroid scandal is really on fire. 1992 is when, I believe, when Vince McMahon gets indicted. If not, it was very shortly after this.
He's rocking the neck brace at this point in time.
Yes. Well, that was more 93, I think. But yeah, so he is basically giving everybody drug tests saying you got to get off of the stuff. And so they're going smaller now. And I mean, Savage had thinned out considerably at this point. He was off of whatever he was on. He was wearing the sleeveless top in the ring now. He wasn't really wrestling without a shirt anymore. And Flair and Vince had this deal where it was, I'm coming on a handshake, and if I'm ever not happy with my spot, I can just tell you, Vince, and I can go. And they wanted to put Flair down the card because Vince has it in his head. We're going with smaller guys. We're going with younger guys. And that there was always the rumor that Bob Backlund was going to be earmarked for the world title when he came in. But what they say is that they looked at all the fan mail, especially internationally, that Bret Hart was getting. And they were like, well, Bret Hart is so popular, we should put the title on him. That's exactly what they do. On Canadian Thanksgiving, I believe October 13th, 1992, in Saskatoon, in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. This one, I believe, was also taped for Coliseum Video. I think the only place you could actually see the match was on Coliseum Video. Bret Hart wins the WWF title, and
I don't think I've ever seen this match.
I have. It's not amazing. Bret and Flair were like oil and water, but they like personally and professionally. But the better match is from Survivor Series for that year, because it was supposed to be Shawn Michaels defending the Intercontinental title against Bret Hart. But instead, it's going to be Bret Hart defending the WWF Championship against Shawn Michaels. Even though Shawn's the Intercontinental Champion, that title's not on the line. Shawn's belt is not on the line, but Bret beats Shawn at Survivor Series, and that match is very good.
Yeah. Well, this is, for me, BP, is going to lead into, in my opinion, one of the coolest. It still has a spot in my heart. I know it's not a great show, but it's the coolest look at WrestleMania. I love the way it looked. I love the arena. I loved the pillars, the filigree,
the parking lot in Vegas.
I loved it. I loved the look. I thought the show looked cool.
It's the world's largest toga party, pal.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved the way it looked. I loved the being outdoors. I thought it was cool seeing it outdoors like that. So I just recently got 2K25. It was on sale for a week. The Deadman edition for $35.
Oh wow!
So I picked it up, and in that you get to replay the Head Shrinkers versus the Steiner brothers, and you reclaim the win for the Head Shrinkers over the Steiner brothers, and then you unlock everybody. But I just playing that arena and looking at the thing, I was like, oh man, this is cool. Side note, the video game. Have you played the new one yet?
No, I have not.
So they added this new feature, BP, during the entrances. You can take the camera with your thumbstick and move it. So you can like take it and move it behind them and watch them walk from like a third person view. You could hit like 4 or 5 different buttons and change different camera views as the entrance. I'm like, this is kind of dope. Like you kind of can create your own entrance. You're not really stuck, but so far it's been a lot of fun to play. I'm playing the storyline right now, but it is really cool to play as Samu. You know what I mean? Just because the guy's local to us, and I think it's the first time him being in a video game.
I believe the
modern
Head Shrinkers,
video game.
Yeah. And I actually had this game. There was a game called Rage in the Cage for the Sega CD, and I believe the Head Shrinkers were in that game.
Oh wow. Yeah, but not a great show, but for me, the look, I love this WrestleMania.
Although now I'm wondering if that was Fatu and Samu or if that was Fatu and Sione. Or was it Sam? No, it was Fatu and Sione, I believe. I believe that that Barbarian replaced Samu. I don't know. I think it was Fatu and Samu.
Maybe, yeah.
But anyway, speaking of Samoans,
yeah,
and WrestleMania is
going to get his first. He's going to be the first Samoan to get his singles championship.
He's Japanese. Thank you very much. I didn't see Mr. Fuji waving a Samoan flag behind him.
Yeah, but he's the first bloodline member to get the singles goal.
He is, and he is very much Samoan as well. Yokozuna is going to, thanks to a well-timed throw of salt by Mr. Fuji, while Yokozuna is caught in the sharpshooter. Yokozuna is going to defeat Bret Hart for that title. And how long is he going to hold it for? About
like 3 minutes?
About that, yeah. Because Hogan must pose.
I remember watching this, and I'm just like, as a kid, this is where like my hatred for Hogan cemented, was this show. Because I remember being like, yo, Bret and Yokozuna put on a fun match. Like I liked it as a kid. Going back and watching it now, it wasn't the greatest.
I was so bummed that Bret lost. I preferred Bret to Hogan, but I was so bummed that Bret lost. I'm like, just get him, Hulk. Get him.
Yeah. And then Hogan came out. I'm like, this fucking guy. Well, let's just talk, not really Winged Eagle history here, but let's talk a little just briefly. And if we want to do a full episode of this on another time, there's tons of topics here. Anything we literally talk about, we could break into a full episode, which is why I love pro wrestling. Hogan's got a black eye on this show.
Yeah. This was very much covered during the that making of WrestleMania thing, or creating a spectacle. It was on Peacock, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny, you see Nick Khan, who now runs WWE, is one of the security guys at ringside. But yeah, Hogan comes with a black eye, and the story was that he said he had like some kind of accident on the beach. Not a parasailing accident because that was Beefcake, but like something happened where he got hit in the eye with something, and then the other people say Randy Savage got mad at them and punched him in the face.
Yeah. A fun fact about this one too, that documentary airs on that same documentary. They show Bret Hart coming to the arena, and following him is Davey Boy Smith, and they're like, that footage isn't from that day.
No, because Davey Boy's in Japan. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was probably from like SummerSlam '94.
Yeah.
But
pro wrestler fans are nuts. Like, I would have watched that and just never thought anything of it. And they're like, no, that's Davey Boy. He's in Japan at this time. I would have never known. But Hogan is going to win after Yokozuna pins Bret Hart.
Bret Hart is told it. Bret Hart, what's that?
How did they even swing this? Like, there's not a cash-in moment. He just comes out and says, I'm going to wrestle you.
So Mr. Fuji is in the ring taunting Hulk Hogan, saying, my Yokozuna will take you on anytime. And Bret is still blinded by the salt. He's like, go get him. So they make an impromptu match, and Hogan wins. And rightfully, Mr. Fuji's like, well, that's not official. There was no contract. But Jack Tunney says, it counts. But Yokozuna gets a title shot at King of the Ring. The line Bret was fed, whether it was supposed to be true or not, was that he was supposed to beat Hogan at SummerSlam that year. And instead, Yokozuna was going to beat Hulk Hogan at King of the Ring. And that is the last time Hulk Hogan wrestles for the WWF for about 8 years.
Yeah. Do you think he's seen that Bret was the guy and Yoko looked larger than life, and you'd rather lose to Yoko than Bret?
I think it was more of I'm not gonna put over Bret. Yoko's fine. I'll put over the big guy. I just probably didn't want to put over Bret. Probably thought he was too small. He was he's a body guy. So was Vince. So I go, Bret's too small. I'm not going to do it. Yeah. Because what does and I'm sure Vince was right there along with him. I'm not going to throw Hogan under the bus without throwing Vince under there too. Mm-hmm. Because what does Vince immediately do after Hulk Hogan leaves? Like literally 3 weeks later, he tries to make a new Hulk Hogan in the form of Lex Luger.
Yep.
He comes in on the helicopter. He slams Yokozuna on the USS Intrepid on the 4th of July, where Mr. Fuji plays a rib on Yokozuna. Do you know that story?
Yeah.
So yeah, because it was very hot.
He takes his sandals,
yeah. So he had the hot foot all over the ring. So it was, and then we have the Lex Express, and Lex wins by count out at SummerSlam because they're going to extend it to WrestleMania. And we go to WrestleMania.
Still never got the title.
Nope.
Still never got the title.
Well, and this was another thing where like there was still that undercurrent of no, Bret, we really like Bret. Like Luger's fine, whatever, but we really like Bret. And so they did a thing at a house show before WrestleMania 10 where they're like, hey, wouldn't it be, because Luger and Bret co-win the Rumble, and they do a thing where like Luger steals the title from Yokozuna, and we're like, hey, wouldn't it be funny if we just wouldn't it be funny if we just pretended Lex Luger was the champion, and do a thing like introducing the new WWF champion Lex Luger, and he comes out, and they say the response was a little off, and people were getting a little cool on Luger in the office. So
it was such a different, like, I love this version. Like this 93-94 roster is amazing to me. This is my peak of wrestling. I love this point. Like, you got Bam Bam in there, you got Yoko, you got Bret, you got Shawn, you got you got Razor, Diesel. Like, I loved this era. Like,
wow, there's not a lot of defenders for the post-steroid free attitude era. Like,
I liked it. I liked it. Like,
there's something for everybody.
I to me, watching this version of WWE is kind of like watching Rainbow 2.0 NXT, where it's not the greatest, but you can see if everyone sticks with it, something's gonna come out of it though. Like everyone who was on 2.0 who sucked is now killing it in this new version of NXT. Like Lash Legend was garbage. She's amazing now. Like that women's division struggled, but now they're all finding themselves. Like
I'll give you a Tiffy and I'll give you a Braun Breaker, and that's all I'll give you. And Grayson Waller. I love Grayson Waller. Go Birds.
Yeah. I think a lot of people really turned it around. Like this is the era where they kind of had to find themselves, because all of those legends walked out the door, and this new generation had to find themselves. And I liked it. I liked it a lot.
And their ace in the hole was Bret Hart, because Bret Hart becomes what Ric Flair became the WCW, where whenever they mess something up, whenever they back the wrong horse, whenever they thought a guy was going to be the guy and he wasn't, whenever the champion loses his smile, in case of emergency, break the glass, here comes Bret.
No one lost any smiles yet. He's in the mid card. He's doing his thing.
Well, at this point, no, he's threatening to leave for WCW at this point. So that's what happens. Like, the Luger thing didn't work. Here comes Bret. Bret's going to come in and beat Yokozuna for the title at WrestleMania 10, hold it through the summer, have a great match with Owen Hart at SummerSlam. SummerSlam 94.
Real quick, too. This
Bret
time,
Owen in the
around this
cage.
time,
So
too,
good.
is when you're in Bret Owen feud. I like that feud. You're getting Taker and Yokozuna in those casket matches.
Well, you're also
getting
getting Undertaker and Undertaker, which wasn't quite as good.
As a kid, though, I fucking loved it.
I did too. I did too.
As a kid, I was like, "What? They're fucking doing them!"
Yeah,
I was losing my mind.
Yeah, there's that Brian Lee again.
Yep,
a lot more Brian Lee on this show than I thought.
Yeah. So Yokozuna, we'll just kind of recap. WrestleMania has it for 3 minutes, goes back to Hogan for the 5th time, 70 days, back to Yokozuna for 280. Did not realize he had it that long. Then drops it back to Bret for his second run for 248 days. And then we get a little taste of the old school coming back for a 3-day title run, BP.
Mr. Bob Backlund. Well, this was actually very interesting because they had when Bret was champion over the summer, he had a friendly match with Bob Backlund where he beat him clean as a sheep, babyface match. And then Bob Backlund went nuts and attacked him, and they pulled him off, and he seemed confused. And again, urban legend was originally this was going to be a way to bring back Papa Shango, that he had put a curse on Bob Backlund, but for whatever reason that didn't happen, or for whatever reason either,
because he still hasn't found his mind.
For whatever reason, well, now I think he's legitimately having some issues cognitively. No, I mean like serious ones.
Yeah, he's old. He's fucking up there.
So whether that was ever planned or not, it wound up not happening. But Bob Backlund gets so over as this crazy old man that puts everybody in the crossface chicken wing. His old manager, Arnold Scotland, a guy from WWF magazine. Psycho old man Backlund was so entertaining. You have to. There's this one promo where he's talking about how he's never eaten marijuana, and he's like, "Do you know where your children are?"
When we worked next to him, at any point in time, were you legit like nervous?
No, it's Bob Backlund. No, it wasn't.
Dude,
nervous.
he was yoking people up all day long, and he just kept looking over at us, and I was like, he's gonna fuck. He would like joke with us, like he would like he's gonna shoot on us every now and then.
No, Bob Backlund's great. Bob Backlund's great.
I loved him, but he's still kind of like, yo, this guy might put me in a chokehold, and I'm not paying attention.
So that's what that was his whole shtick. And so yeah, they do have him beat Bret Hart. One of the great Owen Hart moments where it was you could only lose by having your corner throw in the towel. Mm-hmm. And Owen Hart's in Backlund's corner, and Bulldog is in Bret's corner, and they do a thing where Owen and Bulldog are chasing each other. Bulldog's chasing Owen around the ring, and Owen trips Bulldog, and he hits headfirst into the steps, and they act like Bulldog's dead. He's acting like he's unconscious for like 20 minutes. Bulldog is brain dead at this point. Mm-hmm. So then Stu Hart grabs the towel. Stu and Helen are in the crowd, and Owen is pleading. Like, Backlund has Bret in the crossface chicken wing for like 12 minutes, and Owen is pleading like, "I'm sorry, it's my brother, you gotta save him." And Stu's like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna throw in this towel, you son of a bitch. You pretended to be Reggie Parks, I don't trust you." So finally Helen takes the towel and throws it in, and then Owen just celebrates like he won the Stanley Cup, like, because it was all a ruse. He was just trying to talk his parents into throwing in the towel so Bret would lose the title.
God, I love Owen.
I love Owen, and I love Psycho Backlund, but I wish Owen would have gotten this title run.
Yeah,
it was only 3 days. I wish we would have just had Owen Hart WWF champion for a few days. It would have been amazing.
Would you have replaced Owen with the next champion?
No,
you would have kept Diesel.
I thought you meant what I would have
had Owen beat Backlund, and then I would have had Owen hold it. I don't know if I would have had him.
Well, no, Owen wouldn't have worked as a top. Owen wouldn't have worked as a top babyface. So Diesel is the next attempt to recreate Hulk Hogan. Vince saw this big guy Kevin Nash, who was very
looking.
charismatic, good and very charismatic, so charismatic. However, the character they want him to be, that shaking hands, kissing babies, white meat baby face, is not Kevin Nash. If they would have had him be a little more true to himself, a little more cool, a little more of a I'm not saying he has to be Stone Cold Steve Austin, but a little more of an edge to him, it would have worked. And also, if they would have given him any challengers besides Shawn Michaels that were any good, that were heels. They had no heels for him to go up against. But so this is the next guy they're going to strap the Rocket to. They're going to change the title at a house show at Madison Square Garden. Literally, this match is a kick to the stomach on Bob Backlund, jackknife 1, 2, 3. It's like 8 seconds long.
Goes over hard, yeah.
But Backlund did defend the title once against Davey Boy.
Yeah, he holds it for Diesel's going to hold it for 358 days, which is, I think, one of the longest reigns with this title up until this point. The last time someone held it that long was probably Savage for 371. Yeah,
it was becoming rare for a guy to be champion for a year. And Nash was champion for about a year.
But then Brett's going to win it back at Survivor Series.
Transition champion, yeah. Brett, case of emergency, break that glass. That glass is going to break soon and that's going to be the end of the belt.
Yeah, 133 days. Brett gets his third run as a champion, and this is peak wrestling for me because we're going to get he
defended the title in Hershey. Brett defended the title in Hershey during this run because that In Your House 5 with the infamous Arkansas Hogpen match, that was in Hershey. Brett defeated, I want to say, Brett wrestled Bulldog at that show.
Yeah. Shawn Michaels is going to take the title at Mania in the 60-minute Iron Man match, which I think when you think of this title, this is one of the moments I think that stand out. I think you have you have the Hogan Warrior. You have Savage,
WrestleMania 4 for Savage.
Yeah, Savage, Macho Man, and Flair. And then I think, I would say Brett's first run, but it's so stupid with that.
Yeah, but he didn't even win it on, as far as my visual of Brett with that title is WrestleMania 10, the second time he wins it. And it's Brett with all the baby faces putting Brett on their shoulders. And then Owen watches, having beaten Brett earlier that night before he was champion. Owen just watching angry in the aisle.
Yep. But Brett's Sean's gonna win the boyhood dream here. This to me, this is what solidified that I love this title. I love wrestling. I am a Sean guy. I remember being in a house full of Brett fans and he wins, and I'm just like, I'm losing my mind. Everyone fucking hated me. Yeah.
Because the president of the WWF, Gorilla on the Take Monsoon, somehow came up with this rule that said, for some reason, now we have overtime in Iron Man matches.
Yeah, this match must continue, which was it was the right call, BP.
Well, I don't know about that.
We're getting back to the debate, but no, Sean's gonna win here. He's gonna hold it for 231 days, and he's gonna drop it to Psycho Sid in Survivor Series, and then reclaim it after 63 days for 25 days at Royal Rumble.
That was just a setup to have Sean win the belt in San Antonio.
Yep. So and then I don't remember what happened. I think it was a really bad knee injury that Sean went through. Almost career-ending, BP.
Yeah.
And then he unfortunately had to vacate the title. And
what happened was they said you're going to lose the title to Brett at WrestleMania, and he slapped his knee so hard, laughing, that he dislocated something. And he had to drop the title.
Slapped his knee laughing so.
Put somebody over. Ow, my knee. I lost my smile.
Now. Well, Brett's going to hold it for probably as much time as Yokozuna did again.
He actually held it for a day.
Yeah, he held it for a day. He's going to drop it to Psycho Sid.
This is big. This is the first time the title changes hands on Raw.
Yeah. He's gonna win on Raw. Raw's now that started in '93, so it's up in '97. This happened, so it's a few years later after Raw where it gets its first title.
Because it did change hands on Primetime Wrestling, which is a predecessor.
Then Taker's gonna take it off of Sid. He's gonna hold it for 133 days. This is another good era of wrestling. I love this era is when they were doing the Stone Cold Undertaker, Shawn, Stone Cold mix right here. When I was like, this is good times.
This is the germination of the Attitude Era. If you ask WWE, this next title change is the official beginning of the Attitude Era. They'll say this is when it started.
Yeah,
at SummerSlam '97.
Oh, my computer just froze here. So SummerSlam. Brett's gonna win it back off of Undertaker, thanks to the help of Shawn Michaels as the guest referee.
Accidentally.
So Shawn did something good for Brett there. You think he'd throw him a bone later.
Well, he will, kind of indirectly.
He wasn't going to, so Shawn took it.
Yeah.
But Brett at this point,
Shawn. Okay, yeah. Whoa. Shawn wouldn't be able to take shit from Brett.
You're right. Not in a
Vince
real sense.
Gave it to him.
Brett is now holding the title for 5 times, which is the same amount of times as Hulk Hogan as he left the company at this point in time. So Shawn gets his 5th championship. And then, unfortunately, another moment of this history of this title, when people think of this title and think of crazy moments and things that go for the test of time. We've talked about it before in this podcast and ad nauseum. So we're not going to go too much into it. But the Montreal Quebec Canada match happens at Survivor Series. We all know what happens. The Montreal screw job. Brett loses the title to Shawn Michaels due to the screw job.
And then it actually happened by knockout a few minutes later.
Yeah, beats up McMahon.
And the very first ever Brawl for All match.
Yeah. And then Shawn's gonna hold it for 140 days.
Almost would have been longer. It would have been longer than that. But then Undertaker had to start taping up his fists in the back.
But also at this time, Shawn legit fucks his back up bad.
Yeah.
Sean's back
against the Undertaker.
Against the Undertaker. He's in a rough. I remember watching that and seeing that.
But not rough enough to want to say, yeah, I'll lose to Austin. That's fine.
Yeah.
Not that rough. He still wants to win that match, even though his back is messed up. Undertaker says, that doesn't work for us, brother. He starts taping up his fists.
Well, that's still kind of up in the air. Shawn, they kind of had that up. They talked about that where Shawn's like, yeah, Shawn, a lot of that time, Shawn is so... He's a drug addict. He's a full-blown drug addict. His pill addiction is through the roof. His alcohol abuse and everything else is through the roof. Shawn's not in a good headspace, and it's probably the greatest thing for Shawn to lose this match to Stone Cold Steve Austin and kind of get out of Dodge for a while.
He was still in a bad way for a few years after that.
Yeah, he's in rough shape. Like he comes into the locker room, gets kicked out. Triple H actually kicks him out of the locker room.
That was the day he passed out on Vince's couch. Yeah, I got reminded of something in one of Jericho's books where Jericho is feuding with Regal, and so this is probably like 2001-ish, maybe 2000. Yeah, because he didn't come over till I think it was 2001, and Shawn's still in a bad way. And he did right the ship, thankfully, because he probably wouldn't still be with us if he didn't. So he's made wrestling a better place. He's doing great stuff as a coach and as a mentor and doing good stuff in NXT right now. And so Jericho was doing a thing where he dresses up as Doink to sneak up on William Regal and beat up Regal. And Shawn sees him backstage and he knows Jericho. And he's like, oh man, Chris, you're Doink now? And he's like, no. And Shawn's like out of it. He's slurring and everything. And Jericho's like, no. This is an angle. It's like, they're making you Doink though. I'm like, yeah, I'm dressing up like Doink so I can beat up Regal and then take the mask off. And I got close to him because he thought I was Doink. He's like, but why do you have to be Doink? Like, he just couldn't get off of the fact. In his mind, Chris Jericho is now Doink and will be Doink forever.
That's amazing. But you're Doink now. But yeah, Shawn is going to drop the title at Mania to Stone Cold Steve Austin. Mike Tyson with the knockout punch. So Tyson does get his opportunity during the Winged Eagle Championship to reclaim his opportunity, and then gets to knock somebody out. And Stone Cold is going to be the last man to hold the Winged Eagle Championship for quite some time.
Yeah, replaced with a bubble like a giant pie plate.
Yeah, it was the what do they call the one? The circle eagle or whatever?
The big circle. Yeah, I call it the giant pie plate.
And then his version had a blue version that they did not keep very long.
I call it the manhole cover.
Yeah. The only reason I do like that next gen belt is because Mankind does hold it. It's probably the only time I like that belt.
I wasn't a fan of that belt.
Yeah.
And then they would do the variants like Austin had the Smoke and Skull belt, and The Rock had a Brahma Bull belt. They did do a lot of variants at that point too.
Mm-hmm.
And they did reintroduce the Eagle as the hardcore title. The urban legend was always they did an angle that when Hogan was champion right before he lost it to Warrior, where Mr. Perfect
forgot that.
Where Mr. Perfect broke up the belt with a sledgehammer, and they say that was the one that was the hardcore title. I don't think that's true though.
Yeah. But then most recently on WWE programming, during the return of Saturday Night Main Event, they decide they're going to bring back the Winged Eagle Championship to give it that retro look, that retro feel. Cody Rhodes has the title. He's going to wrestle Kevin Owens for it, and then they do this whole angle where Kevin steals the title. He felt he justified and he won the title, and he got screwed out. So the Winged Eagle did recently make an appearance on TV, which I thought it was fun.
Sure did.
And
a few appearances.
I kind of hope it gets. We kind of have the new big gold with the title that now Seth has. I kind of hope that Big W turns into a version of an Eagle or something, or find a way to bring a variant of that title back again.
I don't think they have any plans on changing that title because it's their logo.
It's essentially
and they get so much publicity by giving it to sports teams and everything like that. Anytime they have a big event, they have a giant version of it. There's a giant version of it in front of their corporate headquarters. I don't think that current version, as much as I prefer the Winged Eagle, I don't think that current version is going anywhere.
So I was thinking very hard on this episode, BP, because I was prepping so hard before the show started. I was taking a nap, and I decided I did not wear any WWE champions for this episode. Wear my Danhausen shirt.
There you go.
But this is the new ABJ title, made by my buddy Cody. This is made and bred in Pennsylvania. This was not sent overseas. This was made right here in the US of A. But this is my version of the Winged Eagle. Essentially, everywhere you would see the markings of the WWF, WWE, I replaced it with ABJ, and everything is pretty much original. The only thing that's changed is the ABJ in the front. And then on the side plate, which I loved that the old belts have this, the old tag team, the old Intercontinental, and the old World have this little plate that say champion or Intercontinental or tag champion. And then they had the WWE logo. I put the ABJ. The tip on there, it's gorgeous. I love it. Going forward, though, BP, I think the move is less it has a logo I can spoof on the front. So, like, which I probably still won't do the spoofs, but like the AEW logo will just have ABJ where the AEW would be, or anything like that, the AEW. But if it's a belt like the Intercontinental, the original IC, or the tag, or the modern US, or the modern IC, I'm going to keep the front plate original, but then put a piece almost like it's screwed onto the top of it and it's raised of the ABJ over the top of the belt. So that's going to be the look of my.
Well, now the WWE have the custom side plates though. That's perfect.
Yeah, but I want it on the front. I kind of want this on the front of the belt to be like the trademark of my, because I want to collect belts, but I want to have them in my own way and not have the actual belt. So if that makes sense, that's how I'm going to collect them going forward.
Right on.
But came out great. I loved it. Like I said, this is probably my favorite title. I probably will get some hate for this, but my current day favorite title that I love, I think, is a gorgeous belt. I love the AEW World Championship. I think it's a good looking title.
I think the main plate is a little smushed in for me. If it was a little wider, I would like it more, because it does remind me of the old IWGP title, which I love.
Yeah,
the Tanahashi Okada era. That is such a beautiful belt.
Yeah, and that AEW title is the triple stacked belt. That's three layers of belt on top of it. So when I get mine made, the guy pretty much said it's going to be a heavy boy. It's going to be really, really heavy. But yeah, so this is the new backdrop. Just kind of going here. The new backdrop. I got the shelves. I put two more on top. I do have a new WWE Superstar figure coming in that I had to find on eBay because it was impossible to find. And it does have an old title with it. So I'll do an unboxing with that very soon. But to wrap this up, the Winged Eagle wasn't the biggest belt. It wasn't the flashiest, but for a decade, it was a symbol of being the very best in WWF. It stood for an era where the champions didn't just represent a company, they represented wrestling itself. Even at the age of the giant titles, the digital screens, the Winged Eagle soars in the hearts of fans. It's more of a relic and a reminder that the gold meant everything. Until next time, ABJBP reminding you, champions come and go, but legends wear wings. We'll see you guys on the
champions wear wings, and I'm watching them right now. That's why we recorded this on Tuesday.
Well, before we close out, BP, PPW on the
Yes.
13th, Slatington,
coming up.
Pennsylvania. Come on out for Super Show. Give you a good time.
I cannot wait for the match we've announced since the last time we've talked. Well, we announced it at the show, but had to make sure some things were okay first, and they are. But VSK and Tony Deppen are going to go one-on-one for the PPW TV title, and I cannot wait for that one.
Yeah. So we do have one more live episode on the 11th before PPW, and we'll kind of give you a full card rundown before PPW happens. So we'll talk about that on the 11th, and maybe I don't. Are you getting a ride up with
more than likely? Yeah, I believe I am. Yeah. I may need to hit you up in October, though.
Yeah, I was at the Sanctuary the other day. Wild. Haven't been there in a minute. It was
neither have I at this point.
It was nice. It was nice to soak it in again. That listen, regardless of how things may have ended, that is home. Like I am not who I am in the wrestling business right now if it's not for the Sanctuary.
Very good place to learn your trade. Very good place to learn your trade.
I snuck upstairs. I went into our little spot. I took a picture. I was like, we called some shit up here. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We get to call a guy who's now in AEW, Ace Austin, up in that little crow's nest. But got to see the Cowboy Billy Walker. Happy birthday, 60th birthday.
Yep.
Guy shouldn't even be here. Diagnosed with cancer. It was a rough go for him. He survived it.
Cancer never had a chance. Cancer never had a chance.
Got to see Face for the first time in a while. That was really nice.
That's amazing.
Andre Polino for the first time in a while. That was nice seeing him. It was a good time. So I got to see some love and got to see some Sanctuary love again. That was really nice. Anything else you want to plug before you get out of here?
No, I think we covered pretty much all of it. Hopefully at this point in real time, the Eagles are up by 2 or 3 touchdowns. And the Cowboys are statistically removed from playoff picture already? Yeah, well, I think that happened when they traded Micah Parsons, but okay.
Actually, does not look like it was a terrible move.
We'll see.
Did you hear about? He already has a back injury. He might not even play for.
He'll be fine. He'll be fine. And good. I hope. No, I don't want to say that because I don't wish a career-ending injury on anybody.
He's really good when he's playing.
He's very good, but I'm not a big fan of the Packers either. They tried to ban. They got all whiny about a certain play. That is now sponsored. The first, it might be the first ever sponsored football play. It is now the Dude Wipes. It is now the Tush Push brought to you by Dude Wipes.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
you might as well just put Slim Jim on his ass.
It's the official. They're the official. The official wipes of the Tush Push.
That is wild.
Yeah,
that's crazy. We're sponsoring football plays.
Yeah. Well, no. Make a play good enough, maybe a Commanders play a good sponsor too.
Hey, it's very possible. Jaden Daniels is making magic, so who knows what he pulls out of his bag this year. We will have some from football content. You may see some stuff on the ABJ podcast. I don't think I'm going to make it its own individual series. We might just talk about it as an ABJ podcast episode.
The Eagles and the Commanders don't play until like September. That's
I know,
crazy
but I think it'd be fun.
Week 16 to week 18.
I think it'd be fun to maybe once a week or every other week we talk just a little football. If we can, and just ABJ podcast episodes where it's just like, hey, this is the 2025 season BP ABJ. We could just call. I mean, we won't make a full show out of it, but I think we should keep the name that we are talking about as like the ABJ podcast.
I don't know because they're irrelevant now. Who cares? They're nothing.
But that's our common hatred, and I think I can make a cool logo out of it with the we hate Dallas.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I can't wait for the season to be fun. You kick off tonight as you guys are watching this, the NFL season kicks off. I did have one more. If you guys want, please check out IWTV, subscribe, and go check out the last Fightertainment. I got to do some ring announcing, some great moments.
Unfortunately, I had to miss that one. I was so bummed.
Don't leave the studio when we finish right away. I have to tell you something.
Yeah.
But it was a great show. Raised, I think close to 1,000 or maybe 2,000.
I think they said it was in the 4 figures, which is great because it's all going to Jeff Cannonball and that's what it's all about.
And there's another one coming up in September you can support. But on the IWTV stream, they put up Tony Deppen's PayPal. You can still go and watch the shows and donate money to Tony Deppen. I don't think Tony Deppen's putting a restriction of when this is going to be a thing because Tony Deppen did announce at the show that regardless of how this turns out, good, bad, or indifferent, it is going to be a yearly thing. We're going to do a yearly Cannonball show at Pilgaroo and help raise money to help that.
And they're also doing a big one in on the 14th of September, if you're in the New York area. I forget the exact location, but it's a high school in North Jersey, not too far from New York City, where they are doing Cannonball Fest. Tony Depp's taking on Willow Nightingale. MJF will be there. They're going to have a big show on September 14th.
Yeah, I think there's gonna be a car full of us going up for that one. But we'll see you guys next time. Go support. We love you all. Get your Winged Eagles, get your favorite titles. Comment below what title you want us to cover next on this episode, and we'll do some history ofs. So we told you the history ofs aren't going anywhere. Clash of Paris did happen. We'll talk about that next week. I'm gonna be
It
honest,
wasn't very good. You didn't miss anything.
I haven't watched the full pay-per-view yet. I got about halfway through and fell asleep.
You didn't miss a whole lot.
Yeah, I don't think I did either. But we'll see you guys next time. We're out of here.
Go Birds!
Bye.